I'm Sari Sulkunen and I work at the University of Jyväskylä, which is located in the central parts of Finland. And I work there at the Department of Language and Communication Studies, and I'm responsible for the degree program for future mother tongue and literature teachers. So basically teachers who will teach Finnish as a first or second language for students in various school contexts, either it's lower secondary, upper secondary, and so on. And I also do research, mainly nowadays on disciplinary literacies and also in a school context teaching disciplinary literacies. So if we think about teachers who teach content areas or subject matters like history, physics, geography, and so on, it's true that they often identify as teachers of that subject and the content knowledge in that subject, and they are not trained or used to thinking about themselves as language and literacy teachers, even of their own discipline. So it's a big change in mindset for them. But I think that maybe the main argument that I would use is that it basically also supports content learning. When you make visible and teach students what kind of language and texts and strategies to work with those texts are needed in this content area, within this discipline, then of course the teachers are supporting the content learning as well. And maybe another point I would make is that they are already doing it, but they just don't do it explicitly. So in any content area classroom, there are all kinds of texts, and teachers ask students to read them, sometimes even write them. Sometimes they of course might be not only written texts, but nevertheless there's a lot of literacy practices going on in the classroom. So they are already there, but implicitly. So I would argue that the step to make all this explicit is not necessarily as big as the teachers think. It's quite challenging to be able to provide only one piece of advice, but I think that what maybe would be a good strategy in this situation for the teacher is to take advantage of all the other types of resources for making meaning and talking about and teaching the subject and the topic that they are dealing with, and then sort of take steps to improve literacy, meaning the reading and writing of written texts. So I would use these other resources for making meaning, visuals and audio and all that, as a sort of support for content learning, and then to build a bridge from that to easy written texts and then gradually for more challenging ones. That's what I would do, combining of course that when the students start reading the more challenging texts, whatever the level for them is, then combining that with a very sort of explicit instruction on disciplinary language, why this text is like this, what kind of linguistic choices have been made and what's the reason behind them, and together with the students deconstructing the complex sentences and figuring out what the content is. This I think is what I would do. I would use these multimodal texts as a gate or a bridge. That goes without saying, we don't leave children behind. Yes.